So I did an opinions video on the 2024 election several days ago, an audio video, and I basically gave my thoughts on the question. A lot of news outlets and content creators, and various uploading sites and social media sites are asking, and that is age a factor, especially when it comes to our current president? And I gave my opinions, my thoughts on the whole situation. But now I have another opinion, a video I want to do when it comes to the 2024 elections, and maybe I might do a series, maybe I might make a series out of this, maybe. But let's talk about who I think is going to be the wild card for the Republican Party. And I think the wild card for the Republican Party is the one person that no matter how far they're trailing right now, in the polls, will not drop out. No matter how much people are saying across the board that she needs to, that she's on the verge of no return, that there's no way she can catch up, and that's Nikki Haley. Now, I know some of you are thinking, well, why would you consider her a wild card for the Republican Party? Well, it's quite simple. Let's say, hypothetically, and it's a big what if, the Republican Party decides to talk to DT. And they tell DT, hey, we know you're going to win. It's obvious you're going to be president again, but right now may not be the best time for you to run because of all this controversy and trials you're taking part in and da-da-da. Let's say, hypothetically, and what if, they go and mention that to him, and they convince him that right now is not the best time and to wait till these things clear up, for him to step away and for them to nominate somebody else. And then let's say, again, hypothetically, and what if, he agrees, and he puts his trust in who they're going to bring to the table to represent them. And then let's say that person they represent, because of their determination and willingness to not give up and concede, would be Nikki Haley. Let's say she ends up getting it. You cannot tell me that all the political parties, all the opposition, if you will, in the political parties, mostly the Democrat Party, are not looking at Nikki Haley right now, hoping that happens, because in their mind, all those political parties' minds, mostly the Democratic Party, they're looking at her as easy pickings. You can't tell me they're not viewing her in that manner, because they are. But here's why I say she could be a wild card. Because if she ends up getting the nomination, and it's a big what if, but hypothetically, what if, she gets the nomination? I think what's going to happen is what the Democrats and all these other political parties are hoping for, in her being easy pickings, her being an easy path to victory for them, will blow up in their face. You heard me right. It'll blow up in their face. And why do I say that? Because right now, just because she seems to be struggling, she seems like the kind of person that when you look at her, no matter what you agree, no matter how much you agree on her viewpoints or not, she feels like she's the kind of person that if given this opportunity to be the nominee for the Republican Party, guess what's going to happen? You're going to see a side of her that you haven't seen yet, and a side of her that will basically, shock all the political parties and make them realize, oh crap, I think we made a mistake here. Because what's going to happen is she's going to come out guns a-blazing, cannons a-blazing, nuclear bombing blazing, if you will, all over them. And if JB is the nominee for the Democratic Party, which, even though, despite the advice from within their own party of, hey, that may not be a good idea, if he is, she is going to basically wipe the floor with him. She's going to wipe the floor with him. And that will be a major shakeup and a major shakeup to the core of the Democratic Party, because they're going to realize that, it wouldn't have mattered who we got to, or it wouldn't have mattered who we were going to have against us. They were going to wipe the floor with us, and, no matter what. And that's what will happen. That's what will happen. If Nikki comes out of nowhere and gets that nomination, hypothetically and in a what-if manner, because, again, hypothetically and what if, the Republican Party tells DT, hey, too much is going on with you right now, you need to step down, let us choose somebody else. Her being nominated, will not only motivate her to do better and be more forceful and stronger and determined in her campaign. But when it comes to debates between her and JB, if JB is the one that, gets the nomination to try to, retain his presidency, she is going to annihilate him. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. She will annihilate him. And it won't be pretty. It won't be pretty. And you know what's going to be the first clue for a lot of people, that no matter who's going to be opposing JB, if he is the nominee for the Democratic Party, you know what's going to be the first sign that, he could get annihilated, in these debates? It's going to be the State of the Union address in a few weeks. Basically, he is going to essentially sit in front of he's going to sit in the Oval Office, that's what it's trying to say, and he's going to try to read off a teleprompter, read off his State of the Union address. And the hope and prayer that the Democratic Party is having is, please don't flub, please don't mess up, please make a good representation of us so that we can shut the doubters about your age and your physical and mental well-being up. That's what they're hoping and praying for, and more power to them if they are able to achieve that. But if not, and he flubs once, or he shows some kind of sign like, this ain't working out for for our country. This presidency right now is not working out for our country. That's not going to be a good sign. Because even if you get those moments, and some people are expecting those moments to happen, even if you get those moments, but they're still determined to make him their nominee, all they're going to be doing potentially is, how do I put this? All they're going to be doing potentially is putting a weight, if you will, around Joe Biden's waist, one of those weight belts or one of those weights with an anchor on it, a chain. Well, I'll put it this way. It's going to be like them putting a chain with an anchor on Joe Biden's waist. It's going to be like them putting it around his waist and then pushing him off the Golden Gate Bridge into the river, hoping he'll float. But instead of floating, he's going to end up drowning and going straight to the bottom of the Pacific. And that's something they don't want. But it all stems from what's going to happen in that State of the Union address. Because if he flubs once, if he spaces out once, it's over. Even if they want him to be the nominee, it's over. Because like I said, it'd be basically like tying a chain to him, putting an anchor at the end of that chain, pushing him off the Golden Gate Bridge right into the Pacific Ocean, hoping he's going to float, when in fact he's going to sink straight to the bottom. Because that's what's going to happen, even if they still are determined to make him the nominee after the Union address. Because again, if it's not DT or anybody else, and it's this Nikki lady with her determination is going to smoke him. She's going to smoke him like there's no tomorrow. She's going to basically take him to the gallows and leave him there. I'll put it that way. So when I look at a hypothetical what-if scenario to where DT has to basically, step away because of all the controversy and Hale gets in, it's going to backfire on the Democratic Party. It's going to backfire on all the political parties. Because again, as I mentioned, they look at someone like her, they look at someone like DeSantis, they look at all the other nominees and they're thinking easy pickings, easy pickings, easy pickings. But guess what? But guess what? What they're really not seeing is that even though they're viewing easy pickings, easy victory, what they're not realizing is what they're not realizing is setting the self-destruct timer on themselves. That's what they're not realizing. They're setting a self-destruct timer on themselves, and when it hits zero, instead of blowing up the Republican Party, it's going to blow up them. And that's a fact. Instead of the Republican Party, it's going to blow up them. And that's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be a pretty, picture. Because if their plan is, because if they're hoping for that to happen, and they're believing that their plan to success to get back in the White House to retain JB's seat, pretty much is smooth sailing, they're going to have to think again. They're going to have to think again, because what will happen is they'll be like the freaking Titanic. They'll think, oh, we're unsinkable, we're unbeatable now. And then all of a sudden, here comes this iceberg known as Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis. Boom! That's what's going to happen. And they got to hope and pray with the union address coming up in a few weeks that there is no flubbing, there's no spacing, because if that happens, like I said, and they're still determined to make him the nominee for their party, they're done. They are done, period. So yeah, I look at the fact that it don't matter who the Republican nominee will be. If the Democratic Party nominates JB to try to retain his seat as president, basically they're going to have to really work night and day to ensure that he comes off as, basically, very connivant, very, upbeat, very sensible, very mentally well-ready, very physically well-ready. They're going to have to work 24/7 to ensure that, none of these, discrepancies or whatever that goes against him are seen. They're going to have to work big time to ensure that doesn't occur, because if not, and he flubs up once in that union address, even if they're still determined afterwards to make him the nominee, he's going to get annihilated. Again, I know it's a weird kind of vocal example to use and visual to have in your mind, but it'd be like the Democratic Party's putting a chain around his waist, around JB's waist, with an anchor, attached to the end, pushing him off the Golden Gate Bridge and into the Pacific Ocean, hoping he'll float, but instead he's going to go straight to the bottom. And that's what's going to happen to them and their chances to retain the White House, straight to the bottom. So hopefully, for them, he doesn't flub and he doesn't space. Because if he does, hopefully, and praying it does, it's a wake-up call for them, and they realize, you know what, Joe, you had a great run, but yeah, this ain't working. We need to bring somebody else in. Or maybe they, and obviously they're known to do this, maybe they say, you know what, Joe, you're not going to talk for yourself. You're not fit, but you know what? We'll make up an excuse and say you're busy doing this, and we'll have Kamala Harris do it for you. That might be the only solution. It might be the only solution. But we'll see. We shall see. But remember, guys, these are just my opinions. These are just my opinions. And I believe this Nikki lady is the wild card to watch out for. When it comes to the Republican Party. She is. Yes, right now it doesn't feel like she'll get the nomination, but hypothetically, in what if scenario, if the Republican Party says, hey, DT, too much is going on with you right now, you need to step aside, let us choose somebody else, and they choose Nikki, and he's cool with it, then all I'm going to say to the Democratic Party and the other political parties, if you're hoping for that, and you're hoping, for that because you believe it's an easy path to retaining the White House or winning the White House, you better think again, because what that's really going to be at the end of the day is a backfire on you. That's going to be a backfire on you, and mostly what it's going to be is you setting yourself up for your own self-destruction. And if you're determined, if you're the Democratic Party, you're still determined to have JB be your nominee and go into debates and everything against someone like her, it's like I said, you might as well be tying a chain around his waist with an anchor, pushing him off the Golden Gate Bridge into the Pacific, hoping he floats, but instead you're seeing him sink right to the bottom. So that's all I can say. These are just my opinions, guys. Give me your thoughts, your opinions on the situation. Do you think I'm kind of onto something here? Do you agree, disagree? Let me know. And until next time, I will talk to y'all later.